Hey guys, Zach here, back again with another knife impression video. Wanted to get off my butt and get a couple videos out here. And my man Carter Juju1313 is back making videos. He's got me inspired, ready to crank out some content for you. And today I want to give you my impressions and some thoughts about my new, recently acquired Microtech Marfione Sigil. Now this sigil is a collaboration piece with Derek Munroe of Munroe Knives. This particular collaboration came about, I believe these knives came out early in the year around the Miami show, before Blade Show. They started cranking these out. The knife itself is almost an exact copy of the Mark III sigil, which is the sigil that was released by Munroe last year. I believe there's a new version coming out, a new full custom version coming out, the Mark IV, in the next few months. But let's take a few minutes here to take a look at this one. I acquired this knife in a trade for a rifle, and I've had it for just about 2 weeks now. So I've been carrying it on and off for about 2 weeks, so I wanted to give you some thoughts and some impressions on the knife overall. But first, let's take a look at some of the details here. So what you're getting, at least with this particular version, is two sides of titanium subframe lock, which is kind of one of Microtech's deals. They've been doing the subframe lock now for a number of years on a number of models of knife. Some of the SOCOMs and some of the other versions have had this subframe lock. So what that is essentially is you don't have a lock bar relief cut. The spring tension is built in here. You've kind of got a screwed in piece here. Get a little bit of spring tension created there. So two beautifully milled titanium handle scales. Take a look at the presentation side there. A beautifully milled titanium back spacer with the lanyard hole. You'll see the Marfione custom dagger there. It's kind of hard to pick up. With the born on date, so this particular knife is from May of 2015. We've got a hidden pocket clip that's got some spring tension built in there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this pocket clip here in a few minutes. A nice replaceable lock bar fill tab there. Beautiful Devin Thomas herringbone Damascus over travel stop, and a 3.5 inch LMAX blade in the apocalyptic finish, which is just Microtech's fancy marketing way of saying it's an acid stonewash blade essentially. Take a look at the overall dimensions here before we jump into the knife. So you've got a handle. It's roughly just under 4.5 inches, and a blade that comes in around 3.5 inches for an overall length of just under 8 inches. So it's kind of that perfect EDC size knife, at least for me. About an 3.5 inch blade with an 8 inch overall length when it's open. It's about perfect for me. So this knife is right up my alley, and I've been chasing the custom version of this knife for a number of years now, through many variations or iterations of the sigil. And when I found out earlier this year that there was going to be a collaboration piece by Microtech, which is a brand that I actually collect, and the Munroe crew, I knew I had to get one of these eventually. So that's what I did. You'll see here. Let's take a look at a few other details here. So let's take a look at the flipping action. Just fantastic flipping action, perfect detent. The knife just screams out. This is one of those knives that you kind of have to be careful when you're flipping it, that you don't have your finger on the lock bar, and the handle profile is not very wide, so it's actually very easy to get a finger on the lock bar, making it pretty difficult to open. But as soon as you get it down, I mean, that knife just screams out. No lock stick or anything on mine. A number of these early versions, I want to say it was before the Miami show. They were kind of rushing getting these together for the show to get them out there, and I know a number of them had just horrendous lock issues, lock, stick, and other issues. When I traded this one, I had explicit instructions for the guy who was trading it with or from to make sure to not do me wrong and that this lock was okay, and indeed it is. There's zero lock stick on mine whatsoever. Easy disengagement. The lockup you could see here is about, it looks like it's about 40%, but if you look at the actual lock surface, it locks up within the first 20% is where it's actually making contact. Take a look at that blade. The sigil, the blade shape of this sigil is just fantastic. It's just a beautiful Wharncliffe blade. Very shallow hollow grind there on it. Very thin behind the edge. Makes it really excellent slicer, and it has a very, very acute, sharp tip. I can get the camera to focus there on the tip. Now this one actually arrived from another collector. Like I said, I traded it for a rifle. As a partial trade for a rifle. I received the knife plus cash, and the original owner hadn't really carried it much, and he told me that it was decently sharp, but when I actually got it, it was not very sharp at all. It was catching on paper, so I ended up having to sharpen it. So that would be kind of my first complaint, that and normally Microtechs arrive, all the ones I've had so far have been very sharp right out of the box. But I had to go ahead and touch it up a little bit on my Edge Pro, and you can see now it's very, very sharp now. But the knife should, these knives should, for the price that they are, should arrive sharp in my opinion. So I touched it up a little bit, brought it back. That LMAX does take a little bit of work to sharpen, at least in my experience. Take a look at a few other details that I've noticed upon looking at this knife. I'll have to get my flashlight here. But I don't know that I've been shown this in any of the videos that I'd seen previously. And get this light in here. The titanium scales are actually milled out. They're both lightened on both sides. You can see that pocket there. Hopefully you could see that. You can see there on the lock side. They're both very nicely milled out to save some weight. And I don't have a scale here in front of me, but this is a decently decently light knife for being a full titanium frame lock, or subframe lock. You've got a little bit of milling taken out here for your flipper tab, so that when you come down with your finger, it kind of slides right through that. So it's very, very comfortable to flip. The jimping, and this holds true to the actual custom sigil. The jimping is kind of pushed forward a little bit up here onto the spine, which actually works very well for being such a short run of jimping. I wasn't really sure that it was going to be very functional, but your thumb kind of just naturally finds its way right to that point, and a little bit of pressure and it bites down quite nicely. You've got this nice sigil designed, they won't call it a Spidey hole, but opening hole, or really it's more of a design feature. It's almost impossible to open the knife with your thumb from the presentation side. However, from the back side, you can do the index finger or the middle finger flick, and it actually opens quite nicely that way using that slot. You can see it flies right open. Let's take a look at a few more details here. See how the actual blade is pocketed out here as well. A little bit of jimping on the flipper tab. Just a really, really gorgeous design. Derek Munroe really nailed it with this design, and for the most part, this Microtech version is almost exact. It's very, very close to the actual full custom sigil design. There are a few notable differences, and one is the hardware. So you've got Microtech's custom hardware, which they've been using now for, I don't know, at least 10 years or more on all their knives, not just their customs. So you've got kind of that triangle, tri-wing hardware there on both sides. You have a lock bar, a replaceable lock bar here, lock bar filler tab, which is an addition from Microtech. which should, in theory, make it very easy to maintain and replace these knives. However, as we all know, Microtech service is it's a little spotty. I've had knives into them and they've been repaired, but it usually takes a good deal of months before you get a knife back from them. And then finally, this spring-loaded pocket clip, which is a addition. It's kind of Microtech's flair. I believe this clip first appeared on the Tachyon. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that's where that clip, the Balisong, that clip was first introduced. Something similar to this clip anyway. And unfortunately I can't take the knife apart to show you, but it looks to me like that clip, there's two pockets down here. In the first pocket you can kind of see a pin there that the clip rides on, and I assume that the upper pocket is some sort of tiny screw or attachment method. I'd like to take it apart and see exactly how it works, but unfortunately that brings me to my first complaint, in that you've got Microtech's proprietary hardware, and although it's very beautiful hardware and it's always very nice looking, you can't take it apart. Okay, so Microtech doesn't sell the tools to take it apart. In fact, they tell you that if you do take it apart, it voids the warranty, which in my opinion is total crap, because you should be able to take your knives apart to clean them. I understand that there's a fine line between taking your knife apart and cleaning it and pimping your knife, which would cause issues for any manufacturer. But there's plenty of big manufacturers, Spyderco, ZT, that use regular hardware that you take the knife apart and they will still warranty it, and they'll fix it and get it back to you. So it's kind of one of my sticking points with Microtech over all these years, is that the hardware is beautiful, but it's impossible to take apart or fix or do anything with on your own, which sucks. The centering on mine, let's take a look at the centering. It is slightly off towards the presentation side. So now we're kind of getting into things that are not perfect about this knife. It's not off a ton, but it is a shade off to the presentation side. Of course, it doesn't rub at all, and it flips beautifully. There's zero lock stick, like I mentioned. Take a look at that detent. Let's see here. We drop the blade. You can see the detent. It just sucks that blade right in. Very, very, very nicely done there. A lot of very, very nice details on these knives. A lot of little hidden details, like I mentioned, the skeletonized pockets here, which again are going to be hard to see without the light, but a lot of little details in these knives that I hadn't seen before I actually owned one. Now let's talk a little bit about what I don't like, other than, of course, the centering being off a little bit is a little bit perplexing. The pocket clip. This is a perfect EDC knife, in my opinion. Perfect size. The handle is kind of tapered down. It's very slim. It doesn't really fill up the hand, so it's kind of almost the opposite of, like a Strider S&G or so on. But it still fits in the hand very well. You get a good amount of length in the hand. Like I said, your thumb kind of naturally rests right on that piece of that little tiny run of jimping right there, so it's very comfortable. The Wharncliffe design and the thin blade make it a very, very good slicer. So far in my use, anyway, I really have enjoyed actually using it. The choil up here, the kind of the finger choil area, the choil is almost just it's not really a choil in my opinion. I mean, your finger barely fits in there. If you were to get any more of the meat of your finger in there, you're at risk of cutting your finger. So it's more so really like a sharpening relief cut, more so than a choil in my opinion, and you're really not gaining anything by trying to get your finger in there anyway on this blade. But I thought that would be something nice to point out. On to the pocket clip. Now the pocket clip is a spring-loaded, sweet, innovative design. When I first saw this pocket clip, I thought, wow, that is really cool. That is really a cool thing that Tony Marfione had brought to this knife. A nice little design touch. But the first thing I did when I got the knife, of course I put it in my pocket because I generally carry all my knives, is I realized very, very quickly that the retention on the clip is downright bad. It's just not good. It's bad retention all around. And this is on my Instagram channel. I kind of show a quick video of the knife coming in and out of the pocket, but I'm showing you here on this patch. It takes almost no force at all to remove this knife from the pocket, which is very, very sketchy considering the price of these knives. And you can consider yourself, if you're looking at this here, that I'm actually putting it on a Velcro patch, which is probably similar to your jean pocket, except for the Velcro is actually adding traction in this case. So imagine this, but even more slippery, this knife coming in and out of your pocket. It only makes matters worse if you're wearing, let's say, a tad AC shorts or AC pants. This knife will barely stay in those pants at all if you're using the pocket clip. The second issue with the clip is, based on the design, you can't really get it to ride very deep, which only compounds the issue that it doesn't have very good retention. So what you're getting is you're getting about this much of the knife sticking out of the top of your pocket, which isn't an issue necessarily if you could trust that clip to have good enough retention to keep that knife in your pocket, getting, let's say, in and out of a vehicle, getting up and down from sitting. It doesn't take much for it to start to wiggle free. I find myself in the past week and a half really putting my thumb on the top of the knife to push it down and make sure it's well seated almost every time I get in and out of the vehicle or anytime I sit. So that's my main complaint with this knife. I love this knife so far. I really am happy to have it in my collection, but I really wish that this just had a standard pocket clip at this point. It probably would have saved some of the price on this knife as well had it had a standard pocket clip. So that's my 2 cents there. Which brings me to pricing. Pricing. Now, I feel like these knives are overpriced for what they are. So take that with a grain of salt. Of course, I bought one. I'll probably continue to buy them. But I feel like these Marfione Customs are sort of the equivalent to the Performance Series from Mick Strider or some of the other ones that are out there that are kind of a Performance Series knife. And I almost feel like they're kind of like a high-end mid-tech. Now, I use that term loosely. I'm not sure what goes on in the Marfione Custom Shop, but I find it very, very hard to believe that Tony is hand grinding all of these blades and assembling all of these blades. I feel like they have more of an operation similar to Hinderer or to Medford, where they have a whole crew of people working on these knives, hand assembling them and putting them together. And because of that, I feel like the price... and the price of these is, let's see, for this particular version, I think I've seen them pop up recently for around $1,200. So they're not a cheap knife by any stretch. The carbon fiber version, that's kind of a little bit more basic, I've seen maybe around $950. That's kind of the cheapest I've seen these, and they go up from there all the way up into the $3,000-$4,000 range if you have mirror polished or satin blades with crazy engraving or gold or meteorite. Kind of the sky's the limit almost on these. They've taken this knife and gone from, a $900 knife all the way to a $4,000 knife. There's several versions and iterations out there. I kind of have the mid-level version, again in this apocalyptic stonewash finish, because I like to carry my knives. So I usually will go for this type of finish so that it can hide any wear that I might put on it. I do want to hear your guys' opinion though on what you think about the pricing of the Marfione Customs and just what you think they're worth. I think for the money you could get a full custom knife from a maker who is doing all the work themselves for much less than what these are going for. Now, of course, this design is fantastic, and it is a Munroe design, which is what really attracted me to this. I've been chasing a full custom sigil now for years, and as probably some of you guys know, the full custom sigil on the secondary market is in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, which kind of prices that out of what I'm willing to pay, considering the table price for a similar custom sigil would probably be about $1,000. So table price for the full custom version of this knife would actually be less than the Microtech version. So you gotta always keep these things in mind when you're looking at the pricing. And I find that these knives are priced at the very, very high end of where they're worth. I sincerely doubt that they'll ever really be worth more than the price that they currently fetch from dealers. And of course they are selling them, so I don't see any reason why Microtech would make them any more affordable. All of us crazy effing collectors are still buying them at the prices that they're putting them up for. So, you know, your opinion there is going to vary depending on your thoughts. Take another look here at this knife. I really kind of want to know though what you guys think about the pricing of the Marfione Customs. Do you guys think they're worth it? I honestly, even though I say I don't think they're worth it, I will continue to buy them. I actually have another one on the way, so you know, my opinion, of course, is maybe not the best one, because I am going to own them. I do like the design. I do like some of the features on their knives. I just really feel like they should be worth less for, or should be priced less for what they actually are, for what you're actually getting. At any rate, take a look at this one here. Again, before I jump off, I don't know if I mentioned, but the blade is Elmax. All of these ones that I've seen in recent memory anyway have had Elmax blades. The knife itself comes with fantastic, all these Marfione Customs come with this the sweet magnetic box. On top of that, you also get this beautiful padded zipper case. And on top of the padded zipper case, you get a separate pouch for your knife as well. Most of these zipper cases come also with a Velcro dagger logo, kind of an aluminum, or maybe it's titanium dagger logo. The guy that I traded with for this one said that the dealer he got this knife from at Blade Show, they had lost the logo or given it away, or it didn't come with a logo. At any rate, I didn't get the logo patch with mine. On top of that, you also get this nice, I think this might be aluminum or some sort of stainless steel certificate of authenticity, kind of all laser cut out there. See, it's a Sigil, Elmax, Devin Thomas, stainless over travel plate. You see the date, and of course you've got Derek Munroe and Anthony Marfione's signature there on that as well. A lot of folks have kind of brought into question the pricing of these, and back onto the pricing topic. Could they have made this knife cheaper if they saved a few bucks on the packaging? Probably. I don't think the packaging is anything, you know, it's cool, it's neat packaging that some other makers aren't doing, a lot of other companies aren't doing, but really, do you need it? I'm going to say no, you don't. I think they also could have saved a few bucks by going with a standard clip, which would have actually functioned better for this particular knife as well. But those are just kind of my thoughts. Your mileage may vary. I think a lot of guys that are buying these are buying the mirrored polished versions, and they're not actually carrying them. So the clip is really kind of a moot point. The knife's going to sit in a safe, you know, or in a display case. So it doesn't really matter if the clip functions really well or not. Me personally, I like to carry it. If I'm going to buy it, I'm going to try and carry it at least. I might not use it for hard use, but I am going to carry it. I'll give you one more overall look of this knife. Just a fantastic design. I'm really going to give most of the credit to Derek Munroe with the design of the Sigil. And I really do hope that in the next year or so I can manage to get one direct from the Munroe crew over there. Fantastic knife. Worth the price? Question mark. Let me know what you guys think below in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say about the Marfione Customs and what your thoughts are. On top of that, like I said in the video earlier here, I do have another Marfione Custom coming, and I'm gonna save that for another week or so when that shows up, and I'll get that one on camera for you. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm glad to be making videos again, and talk to you later.